All right, all right, all right, all right. Shalom, shalom, Sister Deborah, prophetess in the wilderness. And you know what? That's all right with me. Coming again on this Deborah platform with another message. And I will say, this is a lovely evening in which the Most High Ahia has made. And I, Sister Deborah, shall and I will rest therein. I was just washing dishes, and not just, but a couple hours ago, and the Most High spoke to me something that was so important to my spirit because it's a form of comforting me to know that I have to stay in that lane in which I am running in and not go to the left side or the right. Don't look back to see if or to see who's on either side, and don't turn backwards. Keep in your lane and just run. I thank him for that because that's a form of comforting me, to let me know that where I am is where he has ordained and predestined me to be. He foreknew that I would be right here today speaking to you all at this moment. That's how sharp he is. And that's a part of a higher, many know not. They say they know him, but they really don't know him. And throughout the Bible, he speaks in so many words. They say they see, but they cannot see. They say they hear, but they cannot hear. And that you can find as they call the Old and the New Testament. But in Ahia, there's no New and Old Testament. Okay? Ahia is the word. And because we refuse to understand that he is the word, and it's not a book or books or chapters and verses that make him who he is, who he was, and who he shall always be, even after all these books have passed away. His word is who he is. He is the word. That's why it's so important to have him as a teacher from the inside. That's not him because you listening to Maureen, Watchman, Sister Deborah, prophets and other prophetess, or apostle, or pastors, or bishop. That's not Ahia. Ahia is the word. You see, what else I learned was the word, when it comes to an individual and speak to them, it's speaking to them in power. When it says, and Ahiah came to Jacob in word, that means, wait a minute, Jacob, you better be careful. He's coming in word. He's not coming out of these books, you guys. He's coming with power and authority because that's what his word represents. You see? So a lot of times people might be curious to why Sister Deborah always says spirit and truth. Because he is a spirit and he is all truth. When he come and abide in you, he is just that. And he said he will teach you all things. So when Sister Deborah is saying spirit and truth, it is a spiritual action in which Ahia takes to abide in you and teach you all things based on who he is, not who the world is, not how many males have switched this book, but who he is, what he stands for. And how do he do that? He tells you, I am the beginning and the end. He tells you, I was, I am, and I shall always be. He's letting you know there's no end to him. You see? He was, he is, and he shall always be. And he shall be. So how can you escape him, himself? A higher, a higher. You can't. So it's a lot of things he was saying to me today in the water, and he was saying, have you ever given it any thought that you've given people information about the before the foundation of the world? He was telling me how powerful that is. And he said when individuals really get it, they'll clam on top of it. And one of them, he explained to me, which I thought probably when I was like, I had to have been 16, 17, 18, in between there, because Sister Deborah asks all kind of questions, you guys. And our higher said he'll be there always to give me the answer. And I think that's beautiful. But this here was, okay, Father, I believe, I trust that you are the beginning to the end. But furthermore, I believe that you was before you is in every human sight. In anything that was created, he was before he is. So I begin to say to him, are you speaking of what took place in the garden? And he began to tell me, do you know that when you speak to these people about what took place before the foundation of the world, there is a powerful mission in that? And I began to tell him, Father, you just spoke to me about what took place in Genesis. So it has to be connected to that with Adam and Eve. He said, yes, in Adam and Eve, did they ever give it a thought? I am an all-knowing creator. I know all things before it is or before it was. I knew. I am a foreknower or foreknew. That there is power, you guys, inside of power. But many misses just the smallest things. And they try to master the greater things. And the smaller things is right before their eyes. So I was in the water and he was just telling me about bringing my remembering back to Adam and Eve and how one never thought, wait a minute, if everything was, then everything is finished already in him before it is. Then therefore, with Adam and Eve, he already knew. See, you have men battling with word, spirit, and truth. Anytime it becomes a point where you have to battle spirit and truth and the word, which is a higher, then you are battling your flesh. Because your flesh won't let you know the simple things that is in and that is founded in spirit and truth. What he was saying to me in the water a couple of hours ago, if one would hear what took place before the foundation of the world, they would start first with Genesis. And they would grip the fact that, okay, before sin was, or before sin is, it was. Where? Founded in the heavens, in the bosom of Ahia. You see? So people wants to say that they know him, they have him abiding in them, they have his ruach, he deals with him like this, he deals with him like that, and you got so many people working on the outer man. And they know no spirit and truth from the inner man. And you cannot deal with people from the outer until you have dealt yourself first and foremost from the inner. Because to deal with someone from the outer, you're wanting to prepare them for a higher and the world at the same time from their sight, their appearance, what they do that's pleasing to your dress code, your way of beholding people from the outer man. The outer man goes 6 foot under, and after that, never comes up again. But the inner man live eternal. You see? So when you're going after that which is deteriorate after 3 days with a heavy odor, you're going after the dead and not the living. So what he was telling me about in Adam and Eve is, you know that when you give them what took place before the foundation of the world, they should have been able to climb on top by saying within themselves, Father Ahia, you knew already that they were going to choose the tree of what? Knowledge of evil and good. How did he know that? It's when you see. See, he said the things that sometimes you all you have to do is see it. Why would a creator put the tree there if he did not want them to take of it? What was the purpose of putting the tree before them if he knew not which one they would choose? Did he know? Yes. That's how he knew to put it there. In heavens, did he know that they was going to bypass the tree of life? They was going to bypass the other tree, and they was going to go to the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Oh, how you knew that? Before there were any trees, before there was any Eden, before there was heaven and earth, Ahia already knew that Adam and Eve was going to take, not one of them, but both of them, are going to take the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Now, did he know that the world would only see that Eve was the starter? Yes, he knew that's the lie they would portray, but the truth rests in the bosom of Ahia. That before she came on the scene, he had given the order to him. Okay? So therefore, it's a lot of things that Ahia was showing me in the Garden of Eden that was already set there. The first commandment and law, which people need to take in. Commandments and law is instruction and direction. See, if they didn't place that word commandment and law and just place it the way Ahia has designed it, that word, both words, it would be instructions and directions. You see? But when you say commandment and law, a lot of people are even lost right here today. But yet they claim they know Ahia so well. But yet they don't even understand commandment and law is simply instructions and directions of the Most High Ahia. That's what he gave Adam in the garden. That's what he gave Adam in the garden. He never gave instructions and directions to Eve. He gave the instructions to Adam. Okay? So what he's saying is, the reason why they couldn't clamber on top is because, back to what he was saying, everyone wants to say, I see and I hear. And he said, many are going to fall by the wayside. Have fallen by the wayside and don't know it. Have stepped into a stony ground and thorns because they saying they got it, they saying they hear it, and not really hearing it, not really seeing it. Because I think about how he told me those both times, you can take them there, but you're not going to be able to get them to eat of it nor to drink of it. In a sense, that's what he was saying. He said, so you can go on with the keys that you have been given, open up the door for them. You can allow them to come in, but let me tell you, when they sit at the table, Deborah, they're not going to eat nor will they drink. That's why they're not able to climb on top of realizing that that is a bombshell. That is a mystery that has been spoken in this midnight hour. Because what took place before the foundation of the world is everything that's happening in your life today. And when you understand that, everything was orchestrated and ordained and predestined and foreknew before he even started creating anything. What was it created with and by? His word and his power. Before this book even came on the scene. So can one really say they took our books out, or they took the word out? They took this book and they took this, they took our book and took things out. Can they really? What's in this book? What's in this book? What can be taken out of this book? And what can be added is what you see today. When you see all these people adding and taking away. 24, and they see nothing wrong with it. They see nothing wrong with it. That's why it can't be the word of Ahia. Because you can't take Ahia's word. You can't add to Ahia's word. Nor can you take Ahia's word. That's why he did not make it so easy and simple for you to take this book and make it his word. So he was explaining to me in the garden how no one would ever think. And he was just kind of showing me how you can give people the 100% spirit and truth, but it does not mean spirit and truth going to be detached to them. A lot of people will claim it without even accepting him as spirit and truth. Because a lot of it comes with, I think spirit and truth have to come also with you bringing yourself down so he can come to be the highest. Because I see a higher than higher. I do. I see him all the way higher than higher. You see? I don't see him where many people places him as if he can be here, he can be here, here. I see him so high, I can't see him. That's how I see him. I take him to be just that powerful and that great and that excellent, that all-knowing and that beginning and that end, that wonderful, that merciful, that grace and that forgiving spirit, and that enduring spirit and that faith spirit and that fear spirit. I see him to be all of that. And when I see him to be all that, I see him above and beyond what I can really see. So when I see him like that, I can never bring him down to where I'm at. Even though he lives in me through the spirit, I would never be able to bring him down to the level of my flesh. And nor will I try. I believe that he should be always put way in above our way of thinking, our way of feeling, our way of doing, our way of saying, our emotions, our wisdom, our knowledge, and definitely our understanding and our feelings. Ahia is way beyond any and all of that. So when we are really trying to be connected, a lot of times we are overworking ourselves. Because he has, it used to be this really pretty song. I used to really like it until I was told to sit down and really listen to it. And I listened to the words. I said, wait a minute, Father Ahia, you ain't lost. He said, but see how you like the song, Deborah? I said, it sounds so pretty. He said, but listen to the words. I found Ahia. It said, I found. God. How is it you found God? He ain't never been lost. You see how you can get, like Sister Deborah did, get so detached of the beauty and the sound that the words you don't meditate on what they actually sing. And it does not speak of the one that you come to know to be all that and some. He's not lost. You are. So how is it you found something as if you knew where to look and that he is lost to where you found him? That can't be true. See, that's how people even make music against what he stands for. So I thank him today for informing me to stay on top of the fact that there are many things you're going to say that's going to be challenged and questioned. And it's okay because people have a lot of questions and they have a lot of challenging questions and they have a lot of doubting questions. Is because, see, what they didn't, what is because they don't have the same spirit. Because once you have the same spirit, we become one in the body. Being one in the body of Hamashiach, Hamashiach is the power. Being one in that body is because the right hand of the Father has placed us all in the same body. Okay? So therefore, I can't say to you, you're not needed. Oh, you're not needed. We all are in the same body. That means we're going to even have some different opinions and different understanding, and it's okay. As long as we come on one accord to who he is and who he stands for and who Yeshua HaMashiach is. You see, when you come into that, why? Because you're in his power, HaMashiach. We're in HaMashiach through the right-hand power of Ahaya, which is HaMashiach. We're all in that body because of that power. And that's where we are at. Now, when I say all of us, I'm talking about those that Ahaya has placed in the body by his right hand. And everything that Sister Deborah is going to start and have in time past focus on is spirit and truth and the light and repent. It's nothing else. You can't tell people anything. And it's a sad thing that our young men that's coming into this newfound religion called the Hebrew Israelites and those that have been in it 5, 10, 15 years still lost without a cause because they have no sense of the light nor the spirit and truth. They have no sense, none whatsoever. They still under that starter page of Hebrew Israelite. Women are not supposed to speak. You're not supposed to exalt yourself above. How are you above anything in captivity? He said you the low of the low. So how have you created yourself to be above anything? So are you only above a woman? To me, that makes you less of the less on earth. If that's what you feel that you above, and that's the only thing you want to be above, and the world got you in captivity, how are you going to move above anything if you're in captivity? How are you going to get anything under your subjection if you're in captivity? You see? So I just thank the Father for allowing the light to really shine in my spirit to know that the nonsense is nonsense. And like I said, I call it clowning and putting on clown clothes. And when the devil brought up all these platforms, all the clowns came out. And they still coming out, clowning with each other. So that's what I see them. I see them as clowns. I don't see them as people who really seek in spirit and truth. That's why they can go out and search their history of the flesh and have no history of the spirit. Because if they search the history of the spirit, it'll bring them to the low of the low. And they'll be proclaiming, you all, it's all vanity and facts to know about Abraham, and not Abraham, George Washington, and how many slaves he got, how many his bodies that they killed over in this here a hole, and just sick stuff. Like Solomon said, it's none of it's any good. And that's where I believe they're trying to take the new religion that they have started in the last 25 years. They canceling out the Bible, and they feel that they want to take you in a different direction because they cannot find spirit and truth. And like he said, if they cannot climb on top of what took place before the foundation of the world, they're going to continue to just be where they at, lost here, gone, totally gone, which they are, okay? And don't have a spirit to direct them once this is gone, because they're still chasing flesh and the things that has happened in the flesh. You see, a lot of people will get all messed up and bent when Sister Deborah said, chasing your history. You all got to understand, do you chase the history of your flesh or do you chase the history of your spirit? I like to know. Because if you chase the history of them both, you're just out there in the deep. Because after chasing both of them, what is it? To gain all that you understand and lose that which is founded in the spirit, which you have not understood. I believe many of us knows already our eternal destiny. It's because our life is living it out. And those who don't know and proclaiming they do, or portraying they're going to gain something in spite of whether they believe, whether they accept, or whether they know, to me, don't forget the sower who sowed the seeds. You got to have respect for the sower. You have to have respect for he that orchestrated all things before the foundation of the world. You have to have respect for the one who slaughtered the lamb before the foundation of the world. You have to have the respect for he that knows where you at today, what you doing and how you gonna do it, how long you gonna sleep, what time you gonna wake up. You have to be able to have some sort of respect for that. And that comes in spirit and in truth of who he is, that knows all these things. So if we want to continue to walk around and really kind of find, I would say, error throughout pages, because I'm sitting back and I ain't seen nothing today. I'll tell you pretty much what I've been studying today, and it knocked me out. And I said, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm going to bed. And I went to bed, you guys. I woke up this morning and I was really into trying to graft how many times Ahijah has made a covenant with the house of Israel. And I just got so lost. I said, Father, you've been doing this since the beginning of time. You have been making covenant with us. And you have kept every last one of them. Every last one of the covenant in which the Most High Ahijah has made, he has kept. So I did get a treat. I did get a little treat because in Ezekiel 37, I always thought, this was my thought, that when he's sitting here to speaking to Ezekiel in vision, he's asking him, can these dry bones live? And he's saying to Ezekiel in the vision, prophesies to the dry bones. And he told him, this is the whole house of Israel. And then I began to say, wait a minute, that's in Ezekiel. But then today in my study this morning, I was reading, and I always thought that those dry bones was the army of David. Those dry bones were the army of David. And then I was reading, when one of David's servant that worked with him had counted David's army, and David told him not to, but he did it anyway. When David smocked him, which I believe he killed him, all because he counted his number of men that can fight in the war. He counted it. And I think it was 800,000. Listen to this, y'all. 800,000 in Israel and 5,000 out of Judah. So 805,000. He comes to David and tell him that you have to fight in any war. You have 800,000 men of war. David smote him. And he felt afterwards guilt and shame. So he went before the Most High Ahiah and told him he had committed a horrible crime. And he went into this repenting. But see, this is why I tried to explain to you, it is important to repent. But repent does not allow you to escape that which you do. You know what I'm saying? That thorn gonna still be there to remind you. Okay? But yet you're not gonna escape that which you do. And now David he smote his servant, one of his head guys. All because he counted how many men of David that can fight in the war. Because David told him not to. And guess what else I learned? Listen to this. Gad was a prophet that the father had given David. Notice in this land of captivity, these men today are not called to be prophets. They're claiming seer, moor, watchman, pastor, bishop, evangelist, all these other positions, but they are not claiming positions like unto David and Moses. Some of them claiming to be apostles. Some of them claiming to be a prophet. But in this day, while we're in our captivity, claiming to be one that's going to lead us, it's just not something our men today can afford to do because of their mental state. It's not there. That's the whole ideal of Deuteronomy 28, the end game. They're not going to have it here. So he's not going to let them lead the multitude. They're not going to lead the multitude. Okay? So what I learned, that David had a prophet that was assigned to him. That was assigned to him, just as a prophet was assigned to Saul. Saul. So therefore, we have to understand that when Ahiah is calling one to lead the multitude of the house of Israel, they have to still be led by a prophet. Because that was back in then, that was Ahiah's only way of communicating with those that he had called to lead the multitude. He gave them each a prophet that they may believe and hear the words of the prophet before they take action on what they do. So David, the prophet, came and told David that the Father in heaven, Ahiah, gave him 3 choices. And the choices was deep. I had never thought or to really meditate on the fact that those 3 choices were really deep. And David could have went with one other than the one to have pestilence come upon his people. And it was on his men, not on his women and his children, the men. So what happened? He gave David 3 choices because he smote his head guy, because all the guy did was told him how many he had in the military, and he killed him. You see what I'm saying? So when you really thinking that these people on this devil platform are so high and mighty and they worldly, but I guess it is. You can give them all the subscribe and like, because that's all they're gonna get. That's their portion. So I guess you could give them that. That's about it. That's their rewards. They get nothing in heaven because they're getting it here on the earth. And what I mean by that, whenever you can get on this devil platform and speak yang 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 and clown, and people are praising you and idling you, something Ahia said our men has always did, idol worship. They always need something or somebody they can see and worship. They can see and believe. Or they can hear in their natural ears and believe. They never wanted to hear from Ahia in any shape, form, or fashion. They always wanted their idol God. So in David's situation, David chose, listen to what David chose. David, out of the three that he had to endure because he smart, that young man, Ahia gave him three choices because of what he did. He killed the guy just because he told him how many was in the military. He told the guy to not count him, but the guy did it anyway, just so David can know what he's going up against and what he has to fight any battle. So he's smart, the man. And Ahia came to the prophet and told the prophet to go tell him he got three choices. David chose the choice of pestilence to come upon the people, which were the men. And guess how many it killed? I guess it really wasn't a large amount, but it was. Guess how many? Pestilence. 70,000. That's a lot of lives. A lot of lives. That's what David chose. Instead of being chased, one of them was to be chased for 3 days by his enemy. And see, that being that, they might not have lost. But this is what David chose. This was for him to choose. 70,000 of his men were stricken by pestilence within 3 days. And they died. 70,000. So when you see that, that was not the United Snakes. That was not the heathens. That was not the Gentiles. Okay? That was no other country, no other nation. That was the power of the right hand of the Father. See, we got them bent. See, because when we're reading Revelation, we're seeing the world relay these things and orchestrate these things, and we're thinking they having the power. No, these things are being released from the heaven, being what you call loosed from heaven to the earth. Why? Because heavens, before the foundation of the world, had a time, season, a day, an hour, and a minute in which these things shall take place. So it has to go according to what is in the heaven and not so much what is according to the United Snakes. Okay? So you really have to be able to look at him as somebody powerful than you've been thinking that he is. We want to see him weak, a way that he really is not as powerful as Sister Deborah wants to make him to be. Oh, he way beyond that, y'all. I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you. But I do know, while we're looking for the issues of the world and all the issues that shall come up on us based on Revelation, Ahia have already let us know throughout all these years, we've been taught to believe that and even to today, There are many Hebrew Israelites teaching that we have the power. You don't have the power to do nothing but go into that bathroom and use it and get your butt out. You know, you don't have the power you think you have, and you don't have the power to do that. Why? Because it's something in your body could even controls that. You see what I'm saying? So your power is not as powerful as you give yourself credit to believe. That's why I think these men have stepped in such a weak state of mind to where they have forsaken the power of the right hand of the Father and really understand all of that was orchestrated before the foundation of the world through his power, because he's the word and he all power. He even told Yeshua, sit here on the right hand until I make that earth your footstool. Why? That power on the right hand had to make that way that heavens had orchestrated for Yeshua. He had to make it come to pass. He had to make it that way that he had already orchestrated it in him. And then send Yeshua. You see? And this is what is happening and has happened. And it leads me to understand what he was saying to me this morning. Many should clam on the fact that Adam and Eve was even orchestrated before the foundation of the world. So when we go back to Genesis 1 and 2 being perfect, when we see 3 and 4 starting to sin, we still have to know that heaven had to loose those situations for those situations to be loosed on the earth. And just giving the power back to the authority in which it belongs, and don't take credit for the teaching of it and the self of understanding it yourself, trying to teach it. Give the power back where it belongs, in the hand of a higher, and just sit down and get somewhere and sit down. See, and that's where the problem is today. Everybody's clowning. We have a lot of Hebrew women who are getting on the platform giving prophecies, and we have a few of them trying to teach a woman how she is to dress and how she is to look. What they don't understand, first of all, Ahia never called a prophetess to deal with the outer man. He always called them to deal with the inner. It's no way Ahia would give a prophetess the position to judge a whole house and to judge and to speak the right word of Ahia. Those things are spirit and they are truth. They are not things that you can go attack or come after through the outer man. Because when you come after someone's flesh, their worst enemy is themselves. Why? Their own flesh. Your worst enemy is yourself, your own flesh. Sister Deborah's worst enemy is myself, my own flesh. Why? Because my own flesh is what was trying to stop me from doing the will of my Father. Not the issues around me, being in captivity, being in bondage, being out of my mind. Not those sort of things, being on YouTube. No, my own flesh is the only thing that can come after, or think it can come after, what the will of the Father has invested in me. So it becomes my own worst enemy. So what do I have to do? Now I have to get all the strength and the power from Ahia to tame my flesh. And that's what I have done throughout my life, is teaching my flesh how to stand your tail down. Because it's not willing to follow my Father. But my spirit is. And when your spirit is willing, then your flesh has to stand down. You see? So understanding the things that he has put before me is a beautiful thing for me, because it helps me in my walk in the light. It shows me my direction in the midst of the midnight hour. You know what I'm saying? You can find direction during this time in your life, in this life that you live with the breath of Ahaya in you. You can have light in every step that you make. But we fight against first our flesh, and then we also fight against those that Ahaya has also loosed to be around us, families, friends. I went to take my annual, like your blood work and everything. And when I do that once a year. I haven't done it in three years, and I wasn't afraid to wait that long, nor to go in to do my annual follow up. Okay, but I'm glad I did, because I did it not out of fear, but out of me just checking on my outer man. Okay, uh, it's so many things that's going on that we shouldn't be so caught up in the appearance more than the spirit of an individual. And you have many young women not understanding the order was given to the elders, the older women, you know what I'm saying, to teach the younger. And when those that feels that they can teach the younger and the older, because they feel that when I'm a prophet, or I'm a prophetess, or I'm a woman of the most high or higher, you're out of order. Now that's when you're out of order. Because to me, through your testimony, that alone can give you the ability to uphold what Ahaya has called you to. That alone, but not the testimonies that he has correct, or errors he has corrected in you. You cannot apply your uh, correction of the Most High or higher on others. That was something to bring you to be disciplined toward him. You can't use those toward others. You would rather try to minister to the inner man of a male and a female than the outer man, because you will mess up from the floor up judging their appearance and be able to do unrighteous judgment, because you're seeing them from the outside and not the inside. So a lot of them that's coming out, a whole lot of them, and they need to stand their tails down and stay up under the ruach until he has given them their true calling, you know. And it's not like this is the time to really submit up under a teaching and so on, because he's the awesome one. He is the teacher. It's time to sit up under him, you see, and hear what he says, more so than how you want to tame people from the outside. You see, you hear a lot of people speaking prosperity, telling people to, this is the time you're going to get blessed, and Ahaya is going to give you this and give you that. How lost does that sound in such a midnight hour? To me, anybody who wants to sing, and millions of people enjoys that, just being lied to. And then Sister Deborah get on here and tell the truth, and people get bent because they feel their truth is the truth. And they don't understand, if your truth is the truth, stand on the mountain and proclaim truth. Let your light so shine. It is not for you to come to Sister Deborah's page and think you're going to like pan out truth to her in a way that you're going to discipline her in how it is. When if that's the case, it's supposed to be you standing on the mountain and being the light so the world can see. You see? And that's my whole idea of wanting people to be more careful in what their feelings and they're experiencing, because it's really about being a light to the world so they can see. To me, honestly, I look at it as it's finished. If the light of Ahia don't appear to them, they not gonna see. That's where we at, you guys. And the light of Ahia has full understanding, full wisdom, full knowledge, and that Ruach HaKodesh, who is 100% understanding. That's what that light has in it. That's what spirit, that is what spirit and truth is. So I think we need to be chasing the truth of the whole matter. So when you get on here and you listen to people, try the spirit by the spirit. Discern what they're saying. Is there any spirit surrounding that? Any truth of the spirit? Is it surrounding what is being said? And if it's not, then there you go. You have actually used that which Ahia has invested in you, which is spirit and truth. You go to the store and you see situation, or you hear something and you see something, measure it by spirit and truth. Try that spirit by the spirit. He never tells us to try the flesh by the flesh. So why are our young women getting on YouTube, tying their head, putting a gloss film over their screen? I don't know what it is, to show that their skin is one way, okay? And trying their best to be humble in their voices. Role playing, clowning. They don't know the deepness of spirit and truth. So what do? They go after the flesh of man, telling them how they are to conduct themselves from the outer appearance, when they know not what rests within them in their spirit man. And I think that's deep, because what happens is you get someone that is spiritually rooted in Ahia that can climb on top of that individual and eat them inside out, while they're calling themselves prophets and prophetess. Why? Because they have it from the inner man. You speaking it from the outer man. That's the deepness of the two. You got people who speaking, you got 99.9 on these platforms speaking to the outer man. Then you got the 1% speaking to the inner man. And it's all well with me and Ahia, because it's finished. Heavens has already orchestrated everything to be loosed and bound. And from what it looks like in this day, he's loosing many of things. I think we are going to be getting another major death toll. And that too has to be loosed from the heavens before it can be loosed on the earth. That just to me shows you the power of who he is, so that you won't claim it's you, or you know this, or I understand this. No, baby. It's all in him. So Sister Deborah's not going to hold you any longer, but I just wanted to come out to speak on the level of the higher informing me about Adam and Eve in the garden. If anyone wants to know the truth of the matter, or what took place before the foundation of the world, know that Adam and Eve was also orchestrated before the foundation of the world to take up that which was instruction, direction, and instruction not to do. So it's a lot of times you heard in the biblical where he tells one to not do, and they go and do. I remember Yeshua telling them, tell no man. And the moment he said, tell no man, they went straight out and told everyone they could possibly tell. So a lot of times when you hear people in the Bible and they're being told something and they're being charged not to, it's because he already know that they are going to, you see. So I thank him for that, because that shows you that heavens has orchestrated everything according to his will. All the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. That's why you can see him prophesying how things are going to turn out, how this is going to be and how this is going to be. He'll send his prophet, tell him this, tell him that, tell him this, because he already know the beginning to the end and everything in between. It's just us not giving him the glory, the honor, and the praise for being all that and some. We just refuse with our ugly selves to give him all glory and give him all praise, and stop trying to claim that we got the authority to teach this, to believe this, to show this, to do this, and we ain't got nothing at all, but this flesh that always and always have fought against our most high, higher. And we walk around today with no shame, none whatsoever, and get on this devil platform and be in the light to the world ways, and no light to a higher ways of righteous. We are the light to the darkness of the world, but we are not the light to the righteousness of the world. And to know that righteous is the key to believe, and believe is the key to righteous, and faith is the key to believe and righteous. If you don't have those, and it's not something you know you have, it's something he has placed in you, to where when someone step in, you will step out in faith, believing, and righteous toward any and everything they feel they have the ability to speak. So I, Sister Deborah, say unto you, I hope you got something out of this short message tonight. It was one more thing I wanted to talk about that I was studying today. I did get into the 7 churches. Oh, I know what it was. And this is what really, another part that really made me say, forget it. I closed my Bible. I went on the bed. Is when I got into it and I realized something that, and then Solomon said something. I ignored what Solomon said this time. He said, much studying is a lot of worse. It's work a lot of worse, Deborah. And I'm just studying and studying. And I said, wait a minute. From what I'm looking at, the Nile River and the Euphrates River. Hold up. Guess what I learned, you guys? I had to step away. I'm going to get back in it. The Father going to allow me to. But it's not going to be to where something I really need to teach. Because right now, all we need to really be in is spirit and truth. And the direction to the light. And finding in our hearts to really repent for our own actions, our wrong doings, even our wrong feelings, our wrong speaking. You see what I'm saying? Because that way it'll lead us the rest of our lives into a lifestyle where people see our light in us, because we know how to call out the errors in us, and we know how to repent for the things we do that's unrighteous to him and unjust and unfaithful. When we're able to do that, let me tell you something. You got a light in one of your hands. You're on your way. But what I did learn today was, and I don't want you all to take this, 2 things I learned. I learned it, but I think the Father wants me to not take it any further, even though I can study it, but not take it any further. There's 2 situations. I learned that the Nile River and the Euphrates River, the one that's going to dry up, and the 4 the angels are going to release the I think it's 4 of something in the the river of Euphrates. Now, the thing, I think I'm pronouncing it right, but this is the key to it. What I studied. What I studied was we have really, really got bent regarding Africa. Africa is not us, y'all. Never was and never will be. Egypt, a slight part of Egypt where the Nile River all the way around to Iraq, a little in Turkey, and Syria. Let me see. Somewhere over there. What I mean is this here. They got Jerusalem, Jordan, and Israel balled up into a little bitty peeny dot. But listen to this. Let me go and share it with you. And I'm not going to get deep into it because to me, it's too late. You can't take people where Ahia is not willing for them to go. You know, and right now where we is in the midnight hour of high level of wicked and evil. Abraham, okay, this is when he was telling Abraham in Genesis chapter 15, when he was dealing with Abraham in the vision, when he was telling them about your seed will know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Okay. And it says in verse 14, and that was Genesis chapter 13 and verse 14. And it says, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. Now, afterwards shall they come out with great substance. So you're not going to gain no reparations here, you guys. Afterwards, okay, shall they come out with great substance, similar to what we did when we were in Egypt. Okay, now verse 15, just listen to this. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. He's telling this to Abraham, knocked out. And Abraham is in a horror of great darkness. To me, that's to the point of death. Abraham was taken there. Why? Why did the father feel he had to take Abraham there? This is what I try to explain to you about the men today. It's no way these men are walking upright before Ahia. Because if they were, they would be telling you, wait a minute, I've been in visions and dreams, and begin to tell you how Ahia gives them their information, how Ahia show them things. These men are just talking. Only thing that they go into is different books. And they telling you they took our books. They took the lost books. They took this out and they took this out. Baby, they can take the whole Bible away. But the word rests within the bosom of the Father. And if the bosom of the Father is in you, then greater in you is he that is greater than anything in any book in the world. You got the word in you. Okay? So that's why I say don't clown with these people. Now, listen to this here. Abraham is still in that deep sleep, and a horror of darkness fell upon him. To me, that's to the point of death. To me, it is. Because that's deeper than Adam when he was put to sleep. You know, to take a rib. Oh, he's put to sleep, but he's asleep, and he's got a horror of great darkness fell upon him. Genesis chapter 15 and verse 12. But I want you to go on, come on with me, and listen to the things that Ahia is saying to Abraham. So this is what I'm trying to say to you about what he was saying to Abraham when Abraham was in the vision, not when he was in the natural. So a lot of these men are talking in their flesh and not in their spirit. Do you get it? Sister Deborah been trying to teach that for the last 4 years. These things is spirit and truth. And now these men are sitting and say, everybody want to try to be spiritual and more spiritual. You got to be natural. Wake up. Nothing comes natural until it is spiritual. And if you can't grip it spiritual, you do not have it natural. 99.9, it has to be loosed from heaven before it is loosed onto the natural earth. So, but when you get the purpose of why and what it is being loose, then you gain victory once it is loosed on the earth. And this is why they can't get it. Now listen to this. Verse 14, Genesis chapter 15 and verse 14. And also the nations whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. Verse 15, and thou shalt go to thy father in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. He's talking to Abraham. In a what? In spirit, in a vision. See how these people been teaching y'all out of their flesh? They're not giving you any information from the spiritual realm. That's where we are taught. You think when I said I'm taught from the wilderness, do you really think I'm in a natural place, a habitat that's a wilderness? No, I'm in a spiritual realm being taught from that area that Ahia has assigned me to learn from. That area of the wilderness. That's where I'm taught from that level. Okay. And verse 15, he's telling Abraham how he's going to die and be buried amongst all his other fathers in peace. And thou shalt be buried in a good old age. He was already old, but he just letting them know, you're going to live a long time, Abraham. Now watch this here. Verse 16, but in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Ammonites is not yet full. Now, 17, and it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, the smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. Verse 18. I want you to listen to this. Verse 18. In that same day, Ahia made a covenant with Abraham. In that same day, he made a covenant with Abraham. In vision did he make this. He didn't make this in the natural. He made a covenant with Abraham, saying, until thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt until the great river of Euphrates. Now, you all got to understand. He's saying to one river, which is Egypt's river, into the great river and the river Euphrates. Now, Sister Deborah keyed up maps. And I noticed all these maps got all these different sizes and showing the Euphrates River. And I'm saying, wait a minute. He said Egypt River, the great river, Egypt's river, and the river which is in the Nile River. It started in the Nile River in Egypt, all the way, which is the great river of Egypt, all the way around to the Euphrates River. And then I sit back and say, you mean you gave them all that land? And from all their maps, they got Jerusalem and Israel in a little pin needle. Because they changed the map, you guys. The land was much larger than the way they have orchestrated it all this time. So I said, Father, wait a minute. I'm following what you said in Genesis chapter 15, verse 18. I said, but when I put up all the maps, they trying to all bump off of one another. But from what you said in Genesis 15 and 18, Egypt's, the river of Egypt, which is near the Nile River, all the way to the Euphrates River, that's a lot of land. This is the land Ahiah said he has a covenant with Abraham to give to the children of Israel. How is it that it began to be a pin needle? Why? Because a lot of the land, many has taken it and claim it as their own. You see, it's not just the fake Europeans, but others. They have claimed that land, and it looks to me, Iraqi, as I thought, was also partaker in us. When I say a partaker, they were partaker in helping with the Atlanta slave trade. But the land, you all, that they took was greater than the land in which it's real deep. They portray on the map. And not only that, so as I was going into that study, I said, Father, you told Abraham through the covenant, you made a covenant that this land would be for the house of Israel, but it's bigger than what they are portraying. I mean, you might got 30 maps and all of them just showing you a little piece. But when it goes according to Genesis chapter 15 and verse 18, Father, it looks like it's more land than all these other maps. And then as I was leaving, I said, you know what, though, Father? As I look at the Euphrates River, it runs up into Turkey, where possibly the 7 churches could reside. Then I begin to get into the 7 churches and realize, hey, I don't want to go all over in here, Father, because I began to see that the 7 churches pretty much were Gentiles. You see? I don't know. I didn't want to get in it, but so I say, okay, that's it. I closed my Bible, you guys, and I went to take a nap and woke up this evening. And that's when I started washing dishes. It's been about 3 hours now, but I said, no, I'm not going to get involved in that because I did want to understand the 7 churches and why were they over in Turkey, in another part of what could possibly be the 7 churches of Asia. But what the Father was laying on my heart was, don't get involved in that, because there is a lot of things that will come to take you from the light that rests therein. So I said, okay, I back up, because it's much to know, but you would never get me trying to figure out what these heathens and Gentiles have done throughout slavery and throughout this and that. I'm more so focused on spirit and truth in what he can tell us about us, not so much as what the world has done and they continue to do, because I come to understand they can never, ever, ever, ever do what they have done without the Father in the heavens loosing anything from heaven for them to conduct anything on the earth. I give him that credit. I give him that honor and that glory. I give him that which he's entitled to. All authority under all of that. And I, Sister Deborah, say, I did have to bring down that video I put up. I looked through that video and it was freezing, and I'm listening to it, and all of a sudden I go back over and say, wait a minute, where is it? And I'm frozen. And I'm saying throughout the video, I was having, it showed a lot of in and out, freezing here and freezing there. And I said, wow, I guess I should have looked in the live chat and see if anyone was letting me know how they were able to see that I was going in and out. But I thank the Most High. So I had to take that down. Anytime I take it down, it's because honestly, I never go over my videos. Not never, but a lot of times I don't. If the Father say go over it and look, then yeah. But I normally don't go all over my videos. And what happened was I was laying in the bed and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go over this here and just hear a little of it. And when I saw it, it kept freezing. I said, oh no, this is nonsense. I'm not gonna upload this. And I did take it down. But I say unto you, I appreciate you all tuning in, and I hope you get something out of what Sister Deborah is saying. And if you have any topic you think that we should be discussing in such a midnight hour, or Ahaya has revealed something to you that you would like for us to really discuss, put it in the comment, and Sister Deborah will look at it and see if it's something that we can, uh, how would I say it, talk about. Okay, so I, Sister Deborah, said, I hope you got something out of this video. And I say to you, shalom and shalom.